Country Music Highway, this is CMH23.
Hello everyone, I'm Keith Casebold. Welcome into the CMH23 television studios and radio studios, and please make welcome Senator Phillip Wheeler.
Good to be here, Keith.
Good to have you with us. Senator, I wanted to have you in as a guest to talk about a little bit about this project, your district and the Country Music Highway. You got an appointment as the chairman of the Economic and Tourism Committee for Kentucky. And thanks to you and a wonderful invitation, I was able to go up and talk a little bit about this project, CMH23, to your committee in northern Kentucky. But the economy and tourism for the future, it's going to be a major thing for your district and all of the Country Music Highway.
You're absolutely correct, Keith. I'm blessed to really represent an area which to some degree is the musical heartland of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. My district runs through Pike, Martin, Johnson, Lawrence, and Elliott County. Some of the greatest performers of country music, Keith Whitley, even modern music, Tyler Childers, come from this area. And so we have a very strong tradition that, dates back over a century that I think has really been a connection between the country as a whole and this particular region of Kentucky that we both live in and love.
Senator, before we get into the artist and talk about that, let's talk about your district and let's talk about this region. For years, it was coal. I mean, coal was fueling the economy. The people that are born and raised here and grew up here, some of the toughest people in the world. I mean, they've kept us free by keeping low energy and digging coal, but a lot has changed in the last 20 years.
I think some of those changes are unfortunate, but, sometimes good things can come out of bad. And I think that, what we have done with these challenges, I think, is through organizations like CMH23, try to tackle them head on. How do we diversify the economy in this region in such a way that our children and our grandchildren can continue to find this place a home? And so I think that's made us look inwards at ourselves and what are some of the other talents that we have other than digging coal. Yeah. And clearly, I think musical talent coupled with the natural beauty of the region are two things that really, once people see it, aren't that hard to sell to the rest of the world.
It's a great point. I've always felt like that we're the best kept secret. In fact, about 10 years ago when Congressman Rogers stood up at the time and he said, Kentucky, I think at the time, got $10 billion in tourism money. But Eastern Kentucky, your district in Southeast Kentucky, got less than 5% of that. And his comment was, with the musical stars we have, with the beauty of the nature, the trails, ATV, the elk, the Hatfield McCoys, the history, his challenge was, why are we not getting more than 5%? And it was a good challenge.
I completely agree with Congressman Rogers. I mean, in many ways, he's been a hero to me and many people in this region, especially those that involve themselves in politics. And I think that vision of getting more tourism in this area is one that I share, one that I've focused on since being elected in 2019. To the ATV tourism, I kind of built on a project started by my colleague, Representative Chris Fugate with the Kentucky Mountain Regional Recreation Authority, an organization to bring ATV trail riding in eastern Kentucky. We passed Senate Bill 75, which allowed for, the use of those vehicles on certain state roads to kind of connect the trail system. And then on top of that, we've made major investments in infrastructure, the new US 460. Pretty soon, with the completion of the Mountain Parkway, 4-lane all the way to Prestonsburg, and then once the new 460 opens, you're going to be able to drive a 4-lane highway all the way from Lexington, Kentucky to the Breaks Interstate Park, which, I mean, anybody that's ever been there, it's the Grand Canyon of the South. So, working with local business leaders such as yourself that have a dedication to this area, I've tried to formulate a coalition of what do we need? How can we advertise our region? Obviously I think Eastern Kentucky is a very unique place, but I think that I studied history in college and they often say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So if you look to similar areas, say for example like Pigeon Forge, you had a businesswoman, Dolly Parton, that grew up there, country music star. She took an interest in her hometown. She said, how can I make this place successful for the people I love and the people that live there? And she took really what was a farming community. Well, I guess you always had a little bit of tourism in Gatlinburg, and has expanded the tourism industry out there to an industry that brings in hundreds of millions of dollars a year and provides living wages to countless people in that community. You know, once we get these types of infrastructure investments in place, I don't see why we can't do something similar here. We have the talent, we have the resources, and most importantly, we have the people, which are our most valuable resource.
100%, and I want to expand on what you're talking about there. About 15 years ago, Kevin Costner decided to do the mini-series on the Hatfield-McCoys. We found out quickly when he told this story that people from California, Canada, and everywhere wanted to come to our region to tour and to see the sites. They were interested in that history, but it took an outside source telling our story, and I knew then that there was tourism possibilities because we saw it. People were calling up. That was a big factor. Have we held ourselves back a little bit because of a little bit of that Hatfield-McCoy mentality instead of working together? Because I know that's something that you're pushing right now with economic tourism, is that we have to be united in order to make this work.
Keith, I do agree with you, and I think at times in the past, counties, cities, they've kind of been focused on individual needs. As we've met the collective challenge of the downturn in the coal industry, I think, again, that has forced more cooperation, and I think that's a good thing. And you've seen that, such as through the Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Southeast Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and similar organizations, Kentucky Mountain Regional Recreation Authority, that you see more and more the rural counties of southeastern Kentucky working together to, you know, if an economic development project is brought into Prestonsburg, you know, that's a 20-minute drive away from Pikeville. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
That's right.
You know, if an economic development project is brought into Pikeville, it's not a bad thing for Floyd County. And I think for far too long, you know, maybe we had a little bit too much competition and not enough. And competition's good, don't get me wrong. But, you know, we also have to look at a bigger picture. And I think really on both a local level and a state level now, you're seeing a new level of leadership, a very focused level of leadership that has a much broader based interest on improving the economy. And I think we've been rewarded for that by really record investment in the area. Like I said, the 460 is a perfect example of that. You know, when it's finally open, we'll have the longest bridge in the Commonwealth of Kentucky at Beaver. Okay, and I mean literally, it'll drop you right off.
It's one of the most beautiful rides you're ever going to see. I mean, honestly.
And we have Elkhorn City, Kentucky, beautiful small town that, you know, really I think could have, I mean, it could be the Gatlinburg of East Kentucky. You know, my wife grew up in that area and loves it. I mean, and actually I think has some connections with your home Forge branch too, through her grandmother. You know, we love Eastern Kentucky, and we've raised our son here. He's in the public schools here, and you know, it's my hope that obviously I want him to go wherever he wants to go, wherever his heart's taken. But you know, just as you know, perhaps I had some opportunities to go elsewhere, my heart brought me home, and one of the reasons for that though is I had opportunity. And you know, we have to couple that love for the region with opportunity. And I feel that that is my main purpose in Frankfort is how can I provide people like you, people, business people in the community, and the workers of the community with the tools necessary to take Eastern Kentucky into the 21st century.
Yeah, I love your approach because if one of your counties in your district does well, the entire district benefits 100%. From it. We're seeing it with the concerts going on right now in Ashland.
Yeah.
I mean, the Healing Appalachia concert's probably going to bring in 25,000 people. though, Ashland cannot accommodate the hotels, the restaurants for 25,000 people coming in. So they're going to go to Johnson County, Lawrence County, Pike. They're going to be in Huntington, Charleston, Portsmouth, Ohio, Lexington. The entire region will benefit from what they're doing.
And that's really what I love about CMH23, in the sense that you have developed a one-stop shop that allows people not only to see the tourist landmarks of our region and find out how to get from one place to another, but it also provides them with just practical tools: where to eat, where to stay. And, in order to develop a tourist economy, that's very important. Going back to something else you mentioned earlier, the Hatfield-McCoy fuse in the movie with Kevin Costner. I mean, that actually is an interesting segue into another bill that I was able to carry last session, Senate Bill 1, which is to promote the film industry in Kentucky, which I think also is a component of tourism. That film that you're talking about, that series with the Hatfield-McCoys, what a lot of people don't know of, even though it's about eastern Kentucky and southern West Virginia, it was filmed in Romania. And, I have nothing against the Romanian people. Everyone I've ever met, great folks, friendly people. But, that's our history.
Absolutely. Selfishly, you and I both agree that should have been filmed here, because we could look at the mountains and go, yeah, that's not our mountains.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to film a movie about Dracula, I think that Romania, Transylvania is the perfect place. But if you want to learn about, a famous, or some probably would say infamous, part of our history, but a very important part of our history and a fascinating part of our history nonetheless, it needs to be told right here at home in eastern Kentucky.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because when that first came out, people said, well, you've got to have a isolated area where there's no light poles or wires. You and I both know in the backside of Fish Trap, there's all kinds of areas that this could have been filmed. It really came down to the taxes, didn't it?
That's exactly right. And, what a lot of people don't realize is Kentucky has a film tax structure that was implemented, a tax credit structure very similar to what was implemented in Georgia around the same time. But the problem is we never really advertised that. We never really developed it. And therefore, while Georgia has a fascinating website, very similar to CMH23, you can say, I want to have a picturesque place with a covered bridge, with a white church next to it and everything else, and you can literally go down to their film website, find potential filming locations, and it's a one-stop shop to kind of get your production set up. We haven't had anything similar in Kentucky. I think I think the Kentucky Film Commission, when we started working on this, had a office somewhere in the transportation cabinet and a P.O. box and a number that you can call. And so, the purpose of Senate Bill 1 was to reconstitute and create this Kentucky Film Commission, bring people in the industry together along with economic development folks, and try to utilize those credits to develop an industry similar to what they have in Georgia, which is bringing in billions and billions of dollars to that state every year in economic investment.
100%. So while the last 100 years, Senator, we were digging our coal, which was our number one asset. In the meantime, Nashville was mining our talent. they took our Loretta Lynn, and then all the stars after that had to leave the country music highway. Dwight Yoakam put it, reading, writing, Route 23. So our talent was leaving here to go get discovered and become world famous. And when I say world famous, you mentioned the Hatfield-McCoys. I would dare say you could pick any country in the world and say the name Hatfield-McCoys, and they would know who you're talking about.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think to a large part of that is the fact that this very well-produced series that I've watched it several times. I mean, it's a great, the film industry to some degree is one of the catalysts that really, at least in the 20th century, kind of brought a view of America and American life to the world. I mean, Hollywood and the film industry is, I think, unmatched by any other country, doesn't have as developed an industry as we do. So, how can we bring these folks into our region, let them set up shop here? I mean, you know, the amount of money that a major production that can bring into the community is astounding. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of auxiliaries that will come in. I mean, it's not just about the actors and a simple camera crew like we have here. I mean, these are, you know, major undertakings that pay excellent wages.
Sure. And, you know, I thought about that. So when the challenge came out, how do we get the word out? Because I do believe we're the best kept secret in the country. I looked, Loretta Lynn is the most decorated CMA female artist in the history of country music. Chris Stapleton is the most decorated CMA male artist in country music. Now, if both of those were just from Kentucky, that would be amazing.
But both from Johnson County.
They're both from Johnson County.
In the 31st Senate District.
31st Senate District, and literally grew up maybe 6 miles apart. So we've got the claim to fame. That's my vision. And if you would speak to that about using the celebrity status and the talent of a Chris Stapleton to let the world know what is available here on the Country Music Highway.
Well, as you said, he's the most awarded male country artist in the world. I mean, he's a household name in multiple countries, and somebody that truly loves this region. And I think we saw that when the floods happened. That you know, they found him, I think, working on a job site, building repairing a house in, I think it was Knott County or Perry County, and nobody even knew he was there. So clearly, when you have people like that that are dedicated to this region and willing to help, what they need are people like you and people like me that can provide avenues for them to give this region the help that they want to give, the help this region needs. And I love the clip when we first met, you know, about Chris tackling Kim Couch. I had never seen that before, and that was definitely pretty cool. But you know, a lot of these guys, even though they're superstars now, I mean, they started out as kids, just like my son, playing sports, walking the streets, making friends. I mean, they have family and connections to this area, and you know, I think that if they had the right venue and you know, the concept of venue has gotten so much broader with the advent of the internet and technology and streaming. If they had the right venue to connect people with this region like CMH23, I think that is, as our friend Congressman Rogers likes to say, the digital highway that can hopefully lead them to the real country music highway. And again, bring those out-of-state dollars, those international dollars, here to this region.
Yeah, I've got a great interview with Tim Couch, and Tim said, my claim to fame was I was the #1 pick in the NFL draft to the Cleveland Browns. And he said, nowadays, my claim to fame is I got sacked by Chris Stapleton. And he says, I say it with pride, and he's going to be at the Healing Appalachia to watch the concert.
Well, that's wonderful. And, you know, I thinking back, you talk about how country music and can bring people together. Several years ago, my wife and I were at, and granted, now this is a little bit crossing the river, but, you know, the #1 song that was being sung at the Oktoberfest in Munich was Country Roads, Take Me Home, you know. So, right. I mean, you know, this is the music that connects this, really the lifeline that connects this region with the world.
Yeah, we're actually going to do a program that we've got in the works called All Roads Lead to Highway 23. And, you know, look at Tyler Childers now. I mean, Tyler put, 50,000 people in Commonwealth Stadium. He's over in Australia selling out shows. I mean, it's universal what the stars are doing. And back to your point, the whole idea about this project is that our talent that's coming up, and everybody says, can there be another star? Well, sure, they just keep coming. And I recently did an interview with Josh Martin with the Woodbox Heroes. He said, for every Chris and every Tyler, there's 10 more that's living in a holler that has talent that can do the same thing in Eastern Kentucky. Josh Martin said, I know they're there. So the talent is there. The goal is to allow these people to do exactly what you said. Hone their craft, make their music, make their video, shoot their films, and to be able to do it from here at home where their heart lies.
Absolutely. And, I think that one of the best venues to see some of this talent, maybe these undiscovered stars, are some of our local festivals. Like, I always enjoy when August and September and October roll around because it's festival season, lots of parades, get out and shake hands. I just love interacting with people. But you go up to Elliott County to the Tobacco Festival, you will hear some of the best bluegrass music that you have ever heard. September Fest in Lawrence County and Louisa. Once again, top-notch country stars. Noah Thompson, winner of American Idol, played there last year, but he's good. But there's a lot of other people there that are, in my opinion, just as good, that are waiting to be discovered. We have Apple Festival in Johnson County, Harvest Festival in Martin County,
Hillbilly Days
in Pike County. It's kind of more in the spring, but yes, absolutely. And I think the more people we can draw into these things, and even perhaps agents to spot this talent, to get this idea out here, I think that, this could be life-changing for people from this region, but could also be life-changing for populations in this region.
I agree with you. I think the goal to getting the economy turned around is going to be through and by tourism. But let's talk about the economy, because in your district and in this region, we have build-ready industrial parks. We've got a workforce ready to go. Really, the only thing I think we need, Senator, is for the outside business people to discover what a hidden secret Eastern Kentucky, your district, the Country Music Highway is, in order to bring those jobs and those factories here, because once they do, they're going to love the people.
I totally agree with you. People are our greatest resource. And, that's actually something I'm going to be focused on next legislative session. Right now, Kentucky's incentive packages to draw businesses into the Commonwealth are kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. And as we all know, being from Eastern Kentucky, and really I would say more broadly rural Kentucky in general, there are some challenges to developing large-scale industries simply because of traditionally it's been kind of isolated. Right. That's changing. Again, we just appropriated over $300 million for the expansion of the Mountain Parkway as a 4-lane highway all the way to Prestonsburg to connect up with 23. You'll have 460, which goes by the Wolf Pit Industrial Park in Pike County, that the county government there has really done a lot to develop that. We have build-ready sites at the Kentucky Enterprise Park in Pikeville. These sites are waiting to be tapped, and again, it's just about getting that basic infrastructure in place. And I think once we have that, we can reform our current incentive packages to encourage people to invest more in rural Kentucky. I firmly believe that, the state succeeds, the Commonwealth succeeds when all regions succeed. And don't get me wrong, I love to go down to Lexington or Louisville. I love to visit. I wouldn't want to live there. We have all these populations down there, that are really from Eastern Kentucky. And, a lot of these people want to come home. I was just talking to a colleague of mine in the legislature, Representative Patrick Flannery from Olive Hill, one of his best friends from high school, currently living in Georgetown, and he is just dying for a way to figure out, how can I get back home to Olive Hill where my parents, my grandparents are. There's certain benefits to living in an urban area, but you also have some downsides, crime, just
traffic.
Some people like me, we're kind of attached to our rural values and appreciate those.
We have a wonderful gentleman, Pat Talent, who's come back to Floyd County, and what he's done with Stonecrest Golf Course. He's reopening the Strand Theater, putting a lot of his own money back into this region because he was born and raised here, and he wants to see it grow. And you're right, we have those people that want to come back and be a part of this. And I think that you see a very bright future for your district and for all of the Country Music Highway.
I do. And, I've seen the charts when I see that, this is what you see these charts from the U.S. Census of predictions that, my home county, Pike County, will lose half its population by 2050. To me, that's not something to be depressed about. To me, that's something that's a challenge.
I agree.
How can I change the trajectory? What can I do in my position that the Lord has blessed me to occupy to give hope to our people, to create the environment necessary for this region not only to survive, but thrive?
I think you said it best when you said, out of a bad thing can come a good thing.
Absolutely.
So what has happened to the coal industry? It has challenged us to think outside the box.
100%.
And that $10 billion in tourism money that was 10 years ago, last year that was $14 billion. Unfortunately, we still got less than 5%. That's $700 million. So through and by your leadership, through and by your help, through and by the idea of CMH23, our goal is to take that 5% and make it 10%. And if so, if we can add $700 million to the economy, jobs, hotels, festivals, keep our stars and use our talent like Chris Stapleton here to let people know about this great secret that we have here, we can add to that economy and our population will grow. I do not believe it's going to decrease. I agree with you.
Keith, I look at myself not necessarily, I really look at myself more as a messenger for this region, and I want to deliver a message of hope. And it's really people like you with CMH23, it's people like the Wright brothers who bought the distillery in Pikeville that want to get us on the Bourbon Trail. It's people like Bob Scott, Poly Hollow Distilling that owns the Randolph McCoy Well and regularly welcomes tourist groups. You people are truly the ones that are doing the heavy lifting to save our region, and I'm just grateful for it, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity from as the representative of and the senator for this region to have given me the opportunity by the voters to be able to give a platform for you and others to show off our region and to attract not only that investment that we need so that our people can have good jobs, but to really secure a brighter future for our kids.
Senator, I can tell you, we are proud to have you as our messenger and for you to carry the torch, and we'll keep working on the message and you keep preaching it and we'll make that change.
Thank you, Keith. It's been
Senator
a pleasure.
Phillip Wheeler, thank you so much for tuning in to Highway 23 TV and listening on Highway 23 Radio. For Senator Wheeler, I'm Keith Casely.